We are live. Hello,
Hello.
everybody.
And there's also another book like that that annoyed me for years from Black Mask Studios,
Yeah, they had some trouble.
the Pirouette book
Mm-hmm.
that, let's see, what happened? What was the deal with it? I think they didn't finish it.
Hello, Terry.
Terry, hey, you guys. Um, they didn't finish it and they kept saying that they were. And I think they finally did and put out a trade, but it was like 5 years later.
Oh, wow.
They put out, like, the last 2, it was, like, 4,
Mm-hmm.
and they put out the last 2 and then immediately put out the trade.
Yeah. I've liked some of the stuff. I haven't checked out all their stuff, but this is like years ago. I haven't checked any of it
Yeah.
out lately. Well, other than Everfrost that
Mhm.
Brian did, but I haven't checked out any of the other stuff, and I've been tempted to. It's just I'm in such a weird spot right now. Like me going through FOC and looking at next week, like there were some interesting books, things that I'm like, okay, maybe, but nothing was like calling out to me like, oh,
Mm.
this is something you, and
Yeah.
it's not that there's not any good books. It's just I've just been in this weird funk the last couple of weeks where even the books that I'm excited to be reading, it's like, it's almost like I'm having to put some work into
Yeah.
reading them, and it's just a thing,
Yeah.
it's one of those. It
Well,
happens.
I sat down tonight after dinner and I read, what did I read? 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Was it 6? Yeah, 6 books, and I actually dug all of them. I was like,
Oh, good.
"Wow, 6 in a row." I can't remember the last time that's happened. Usually something disappoints me in there, and I'm like,
Right,
"Ah,
yeah.
whatever."
No, but that's good.
But yeah,
No,
and
and the books we're talking about tonight, like, I enjoy what I read, don't get me wrong.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not ever hardly do I read something and then I'm like, "No, I don't even wanna talk about that.
Right,
I need
yeah,
something else to read. I need to cleanse my palate. That left a bad taste."
yeah. Let's see here, make sure I got all my stuff in order. Cool. But yeah. Alright, let me see if I think I have
So we
him.
got Terry. Any of our other regulars out there, or 2 weeks off?
Mm,
Has everybody left? It
yeah,
was
that
my
was it.
dinner that put you in a receptive mood. Yeah, that's true. It was,
Probably.
spicy panko hyper potato, howdy. Spicy panko chicken with, lemon pepper asparagus and corn on the cob. I mean, come on. I didn't see any bad four-letter words in that.
So I got that tweet out. Yeah, that's been the bad thing about the new laptop is like all my, because I've got like 7 email addresses and
Mhm.
so many Twitter things, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta remember. I was like, I have just password resets all over the place. I'm like,
Yep.
so I have to reset it on my phone, and it's like,
Everywhere. Yep, everywhere that you've used it.
yeah. Terry got Hyper, got Doug.
Doug? Oh, Doug, he just chimed in. Doug
Yep.
asks, "Howdy."
All right, let me get my.
And we got a major nod on one of the recent, Martin, episods
Oh, really?
for his
Cool.
podcast that he did. Yeah, because
Nice.
it clued him into, now that I bring it up, it's gonna slip my mind.
Oh,
Oh, the, Cullen Bunn Outland, Barry Blair, well, not Barry Blair specifically, but Warlock 5 stuff.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was a
Hmm.
part of that, and actually Mike Myers was a little bit. He seemed to be a little bit more on top of what they were doing with it, but
Yeah,
he got a little bit more information out of that too. And then
cool.
he was tweeting me the other day about it, and he and I exchanged some information as well. So,
Hyper getting the kids to bed. These whippersnappers are making me.
well, that's what they're supposed to do.
Yep. That's why you do
I
like Ed and I, and you wait till they get older and don't have to worry about it anymore.
I came to the conclusion that the entire point that kids exist is to see how far they can push you. That is their reason for being.
There are days like that.
Yep. But
There,
they're frequent,
oh,
is the problem, you know,
the frequency.
particularly at certain stages of growth. They seem to be, you know, once they get that teenage poison in them,
Yep.
yeah, boy.
Oh, I don't know if you see this over here. These are my 3 Top Cow hardcovers.
Oh, okay.
2 volumes of The Darkness, and then my Cyberforce.
Oh, nice,
So,
nice.
yeah, I missed out on the Witchblade stuff because
Witchblade,
I'm stupid.
both of
It's
them, right?
yeah.
They've put two out
Well,
so far.
I was gonna get the second one. I was gonna get 1 and 2 together because I had them both it was like $150. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know.
two of them together? Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, I was
oh,
like,
yeah,
"Oh, sorry."
I'd rather spread that out if I can.
Yeah, if I
Thank you,
can,
sir.
please.
May I spread that out?
Yes. Mac,
Get
you're a good
out,
guy.
sassy teen. Yeah,
Oh, jeez.
that's the truth.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. What time is it? About 5 or 6 after. We can get this ball rolling in. See if we remember how to do a podcast. See if I
Yeah,
remember it.
really.
Well,
It's been a
you've still
while.
been doing them, so. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Got all
All
my
right,
drink.
Mike, you just tweeted, man. That means you're online. You need to come on board YouTube. Come on, dog.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, Mike Myers.
You're stalking people, man. Wish yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I see what you did. This would
I'm
have been
that
a fleet.
carnival barker
Yep.
stepping
Do it.
out there in the aisle to get people.
Do it now.
Uh, I don't have a shirt under the robe, but I do have sweatpants on, so it's, you know, because they didn't have shirts under their robes either. I mean, come
It
on.
said naked. Jeez.
It's like, you know, they're
It's
on
not that kind of
Tatooine.
show.
Well,
Yeah.
not yet. I mean, you know,
Not yet? What?
wait, hey, I'll hoe for ratings. That's
Wait till
me.
after 10 o'clock. You know.
Got a new, yeah, the hoe hour.
Wait until prime time.
Got a
Or
new
is that
Xenoscope
9 o'clock?
title.
Yeah.
That's well, yeah. It depends on what channel.
Hmm.
So,
That is true too. Yeah, it's got a new Xenoscope title. Nice.
yep. Hey, I got
Oh,
Billy, or I got Linsner to do my cover. So
nice.
I'm gonna have prominent nipples if nothing else.
Oh,
Oh wow, I'm sorry.
Lord.
he, he draws more than that, but he does draw that on everyone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Is that a medical condition? So
Oh.
yeah, that's always been the case. I told you about the one guy when I was working at Cards and Comics. This is right. It was right before and right after Karen and I got married. Is when I was working there. So it's 25 years or whatever. But Linzer, like Cry for Dawn,
Mhm.
had just come out, and so the Dawn series had just started. Um, so Linzer was not just then making a name for himself. He was already pretty popular, but this one guy, good lord, it's like I want 10 copies and blah blah. I was like, all right, you just whatever, man.
There you go.
You do what you want.
The
Chris and I are
Linsner
pleased to
mark,
announce our new show, Two Clothed Guys Talking.
which isn't a bad title, just by itself.
Yeah, Two Clothed Guys Talking Comics.
I mean, you
We could do that.
absolutely know what you're going to get with that show.
Yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's
And I'm all about being clear cut. Like I don't want any questions.
no,
I like to be upfront and
you,
honest with you.
you don't want to be host of the ambiguous podcast.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think there is one of those out there.
Little hard to market that one.
Yeah. I'm here with vagueness and
Yep.
like to talk about something.
Well, you know who
Every
your
so
first
often.
guest would have to be? Orange
John
Cassidy.
Cena? Oh, Orange. Oh, God.
Orange Cassidy.
I was going to say John Cena because there's nothing to talk about. You can't see him.
Yep.
So, in a twist, we talk about nudie comics.
Nudie comics.
Yeah, I don't have any of those.
Speaking of which, I've spent a lot of time the past 2 or 3 months looking at those underground comics from like the late 60s
yeah.
and early 70s.
Mhm.
Wow.
Talk about some.
Man, I just a lot of times halfway through the book, I lose my grasp on the point, and I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll the art is what it is. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not always necessarily my bag, but it is uh, fun, not fundamental necessarily, but it's a lot of the building blocks for what our books are today.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so I just have this interest to go back and see. Well, where
Yeah.
did it start? Well, what was it?
Hmm.
And yeah, they just they let the inmates run the asylum with a
Hmm.
lot of those books, man. Just topic and the art was uh, the art was not visual. It was not intended to be visually pleasing. It
Yeah.
was intended to be as disruptive and uncomfortable as the subject
Oh yeah.
material of the stories was.
It was
And
very
so it's
visceral. Yeah.
oh wow, man. You know. Now some people like say like Richard Corbin,
Hmm.
the topics of some of his stuff were pretty difficult, but his art style was always the same.
Oh
Just
yeah.
that very hairy, thick
Hmm.
kind of almost ape-like, full faces, big,
Yep.
almost the big like alcoholic noses, and
Yep.
and that was his style throughout, which wasn't bad necessarily as some other people's, but
Yeah.
it was
Uh,
his probably for me was the most palatable of a lot of those
yeah.
early men and women, and even saying that, it's like oof, his stuff sometimes is if it's not horror, it's a little
Yeah.
difficult
I
to
was gonna
take.
say I dig a lot of his horror stuff.
Yeah, yeah, his stuff is perfect for the body horror or the
Yeah.
grotesquerie kind of creatures and things. Yeah, it's perfectly suited for that.
Excuse me. Goodness. Oh my gosh. Next time I'll mute. Sorry, I apologize. All right, let's get this shindig on the road while Chris is
Go.
still awake. Get my other microphone behind my head. So that one
Other
doesn't work.
microphone, other camera,
There's so
other
much going on.
laptop, other
There's so much going on in the room.
goodness,
Oh my gosh.
all the hardware.
Yep. It's crazy talk. One of these days, maybe I'll own some of it. That is the funny thing when I get on a Skype me a Teams meeting or whatever, and I've got this microphone,
Mhm.
and they're like, did you need that? And they were like, yeah, I do other things, because
This is my microphone.
this is my microphone. Shut up.
Basically, yeah.
Back off. So, all right, let's put a long pause right here. Take a deep breath.
There, let's see.
In three, two, one. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Comic Addiction. This is episode number 147. I am one of your co hosts, Chris Partner. With me, as always, is Mr. I'm wearing a hat now, Ed Moore. Sorry, I didn't even put your first name there.
Yeah, I'm no longer a Jedi. I
You're
quit
no
now.
longer a Jedi.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no,
Just wasn't your cup of tea.
no.
Okay.
It looked too ominous on the camera. With looked like I was Death from the movie with Bill Murray, the Christmas movie with Bill
Oh,
Murray.
yeah.
Um,
Scrooged.
Scrooged. Yeah,
Yep.
it made me look like Death, just black in the hood. It's yeah.
We knew who you were. We knew
Mm.
you were still our Ed. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we missed a week. No big deal. I did find out shortly before we started recording this show that the podcast for 2 weeks ago, 146, the YouTube show, the video show is up, obviously, but the audio show never posted. So when I was in Libsyn,
Oh.
it's there, it's scheduled, just never posted. I don't know why, but so I apologize for that. So
Hmm.
you may be getting 146 and
And
147
147.
pretty close together. So
Yep.
please enjoy. So, but yep, we're back. We're having a good time. Everybody's in the chat. Hopefully, if you're listening to us after the fact, hopefully you will find some time to come by on a Thursday night between 9 p.m. and 11 ish. We do
Yes.
about 2 hours, on Thursdays. You can come by and hang out with us on the chat as we do a live show. We have the regulars here, and if you want to become one of those fine folks, you can do that. So let's go ahead and jump into things. Let's see if I can remember how to ride this bicycle. With our FOCs, these are books that are FOC'd for September 12th. So let's go ahead and add
All
this
right.
stuff to the stream. Hey, that was a more smooth transition than I've ever had.
Pretty smooth.
So, all right, what you got here, sir?
All right. The first and second actually are related.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
This is that's because one of the ones that I picked got dropped completely off the list. I'm like, oh, I got to find something else.
quick,
So,
quick, quick.
this book turns out to be, and she may be able to chime in and back me up on this, a favorite of both Mrs. Moore and myself. Stuff of Legends. This is the first trade paperback. There are 5. Each trade collects 5 issues, and there she is. Yay! And the interesting thing, first of all, about these books is physically they're in the same format as the Mouse Guard singles are.
Oh, the
That
square bound. Cool.
Yeah, that almost completely square size, like 8 by 8 or whatever it turns out to
Mm-hmm.
be. Yeah. So that's the size for the individual issues that they've chosen to use. Now the trades are the standard trade size, so everything gets actually blown up a little bit when it goes to trade. The story is the story of a young boy who is protected by his teddy bear. And to start off with, in this first trade, we find out that there is a big bad. The big bad sends several other toy sorties to try to get the little boy because the little boy is important to the toy world, which they enter and exit through the closet in the child's room, um, in the dark, even is going to be important. And so the adversary is before he's shown as to who he is, that is what he gets to be referred to as, the adversary. Um, the little boy is going to be important to the adversary, and so he tries to get him by sending other toys after him. But the boy's protector, the teddy bear, has none of that. This first trade, we see the beginnings of a much larger world, a much larger story, which fortunately enough they were able to pursue because there was enough interest in this first. This printing of this is a soft cover printing, and this is probably the at least second or third printing for the soft cover. But this can also be found at previous printings in hardcover. I don't
Oh,
know if
cool.
or no, this is the hardcover. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
this is
right.
the hardcover. Yeah.
This is the hardcover. It's also in soft, and I'm wondering if this next printing is going to be in soft cover as well. But
Hmm.
right now, this is hardcover. I have the individual issues and the soft covers. I didn't go for the hardcovers when they came out. But 5 issues, standard page count, smaller presentation. 5 of those for $20 is a pretty daggone good
Mm-hmm.
deal. I mean,
Oh, for
that's
sure.
$4 a piece, which is a little bit less. I think they were $4.99 when they came out each. So you're saving a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's in sepia with splashes of a color or two here and there, but mainly in sepia, just as this inset in the cover is. Excellent art. Uh, really nice guys. We've met both the writer and artist several times at Heroes and have interacted with one or both, just depending on how they were set up. Different times we've been there. Gotten stuff signed, gotten new stuff from them. Just very outgoing, very good to support. Even to the extent that they kickstarted a um, a board game that is in publication right now. I don't think they have finalized it yet, but so good stuff. Stuff of Legend.
Cool. I have seen this when it first came out. I think I even picked up the first issue, but I
Mhm.
don't think I've seen it since. So this is a definitely a good pickup for $20.
And I've neglected to say that the publisher is Third with a 3 in place of the I, Third World Studios. So it's a
Yeah.
you'll notice the spelling anytime you see it. "Oh, what's wrong with that?" And that's them, Third World.
It's like, nope, they didn't mess that up. That's the
Mm-mm.
way it's supposed to be.
Yep, it's on purpose.
Yep. Cool.
Doug, it is really good. I mean, it's kind of, uh, and I don't mean this as a pejorative, but it's kind of tropey, you know? You've got the child who is protected by one of its toys against other toys, and you walk through the closet to get to the other. Yeah, but I mean, why switch up things like that if they work?
Right.
Now, once the story gets going, like I've said, there's been 25 issues, and I think they say that there's another 3 to 5 issue series that they have in mind as kind of a follow-up. It finished in those 5 volumes, but they have come up with some other ideas. Um, Actually working on the board game, it seems people giving them ideas for what to do with the board game, and they have so much stuff that I think they're considering publishing kind of an epilogue to that overall story. That's like I say, 3 issues, maybe 4 issues, but um, very very entertaining. It's not as light as it may sound, you know, in that it involves a child and a bunch of toys. It does get pretty heavy, pretty hard. Not grotesquely so, but more so than you know, a Kaboom imprint from Boom, or a Disney. Although some of Disney stuff gets pretty wacky. Um, but yeah, it for adults, it's definitely, particularly the longer you stay with it, the more interesting, the more adult um, attractive I thought it became. It interested me more the longer that it went. So that's particularly why I enjoyed it. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll be
I'm
quiet. I'm
definitely
sorry.
no, you're good. I mean, it's not like you're not gonna be talking about this in a few more minutes.
Oh
So
well, you know, yeah,
spoiler.
yeah,
So and I feel like if you get both you and Terry on board saying that it's a good book to pick up, I definitely think
yeah.
it's gonna check off a lot of boxes for
Yeah,
folks.
she
So
definitely has much better taste than I do in comics.
yeah, why is she not doing the show then? No, I'm sorry.
Oh well, that's a good. I don't know. I'll ask her that. Yeah. Host switch. Yep.
Oh
Okay.
no, that'd be bad. Not that it wouldn't be bad to have Terry on. But anyway, so my first pick for FOC, and I've talked about this book a lot, is Dark Ride #1. This is from Image, Skybound, however you want to put it. Joshua Williamson and Andrea Bresson, who were the team for Birthright. Um, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. Like I said, I've talked about this book a lot already. There was a short story in the Skybound X #25
That's right.
that gave us a little bit of an introduction to it. Literally an introduction because it was at the gate of the park. So um, so yeah, it's this little station. Welcome to the scariest place on earth. Devil's Land has been the world's premier horror themed amusement park for over 50 years, home to the scariest ride ever created, the Devil's Due. Yeah, so it's one of those things. I'm interested in it. Joshua Williamson is someone I always check out all of his stuff. Not all of it rings, well with me. But at the same time, a lot of his creator owned stuff does. So I'm looking for. I mean, I am enjoying his stuff over DC lately, so that is a good thing. Um, so yeah, so this will be one of my picks for when it comes out. I've actually got it on. I've already pre-ordered this particular issue, so we'll check it out when it hits.
Cool. All
And
right. Next up is this book called Stuff of Legends, Volume 2, hardcover.
so I've heard about this book. Could you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. It's about a boy who is plagued by evil toys, but he has a protector in his teddy bear. So the evil toys, it turns out, are assaulting him basically nonstop because of a dark force dude in the Toyland world dimension, which is accessible through the closet of the boys' room at home.
Seems a little formulaic.
It does, but again, I mean, if the formula works, why change
What?
it?
Oh,
Uh,
okay, yeah, totally
you
get
know,
that. Yeah.
and I refer to things like Cthulhu. It's rather formulaic. Um, just about anything sand and sandal is formulaic. Conan,
True.
uh,
It's very
du-
true.
dude on Mars, um,
John Carter.
John Carter. Yeah,
Yeah.
him. You could say that Fafford and the Gray Mouse are
Oh,
quasi sand and sable, but they're more fantasy,
yeah,
although they're not high fantasy like Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
uh, which I've watched the first episode and I thought it was very good, but it's neither here nor there. This
Yeah.
is the second volume. This also incorporates 5 issues. As I said, each volume is 5 issues long, standard length, but the size is a different size of the book, not the trade. The trade is more standard sized with the 8.5 by 11 or whatever they are of you know, our standard comic book size. But the individual issues are small, and they're am I recalling right, Chris, that they're like almost exactly the same dimension uh, in X and
They're
Y?
yeah, they're pretty close.
Yeah, Mouse Guard, Fraggle Rock, both of
Yeah.
those from Boom. Both of those are that style. Might be some others that I just have never bought that may turn out to be in that style as well.
So, kind of speaking of Fraggle Rock, kind of
What?
like this size.
Why do you have Fraggle Rock? I didn't know that you read Fraggle Rock.
I have like all of these
Yes.
sitting here on my desk.
Oh.
It's a palate cleanser. I mean,
And I say having bought them as well. So
and then there's also, a little
yes,
bit of mouse guard in there too.
there you
So
go. The original Weird Shape book.
yes. So yeah, very, very much along those lines.
Yeah. So in this teaser, whatever you want to call it, they name the big bad as the Boogeyman. Um, ultimately, I believe his name is changed to Jester,
Hmm.
the Jester. That's who he turns out to be. But right now, he is just the Boogeyman. So again, that can seem kind of tropey. Well, the big bad is called the Boogeyman, about a kid and toys. Well, okay, but again, it's it's a name is a name, a setting is a setting, but the story is what you come back for, and yeah, it has come out. Yeah, there are big gaps at times between the
Oh,
books and
okay.
everything like that
Gotcha.
over the life of its publication. But second volume, excellent, excellent. Also, it's called
The jungle.
there it is, The Jungle. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I know I saw it somewhere. Oh, it's up here.
Yeah.
Yes, The Jungle. So I
Cool.
guess they're getting ready to. I guess they'll be releasing the other three so that they have released all five because the fifth one, it's been pre-pandemic since it came out.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, yeah. So it's been a little
This would be
while
a good
since.
good way to pick it up. $20 a piece. Not bad.
And I'll throw out that maybe they're doing this to get these books back in the public eye because when they fulfill their game board Kickstarter, that game will probably hit regular outlets, and
Oh, good. Yeah,
this
good.
this would be a way to warm up the audience again. Like I said, that fifth trade came out pre-pandemic, right before the pandemic. So that means that the issues finished, probably 4, 5, 6 months before that.
Hmm.
So it's been 3 years, maybe almost four, since the individual issues came out. So yeah, they're probably uh, dare I say, fluffing up the audience to get the book for when the game board comes out.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Yep.
All right. So my next pick is not The Approach. I always want to say The Approach, but they say it in the title, but everything that's ever text, written out says just Approach. This is a 5-issue miniseries by Jason Hahn and Jason A. Hurley.
By who?
Jeremy, did I say Jason Hahn?
You said Jason
Did
Hahn,
I?
yeah.
There's so many Jasons in this book.
His brother,
Jesus and
yeah.
yeah, Jeremy Hahn. My apologies. And then Jesus Herves doing the art on this, and Hahn doing the cover art. This is being published from Boom. If you know anything about me, I'm a huge Jeremy Hahn fan. That's why I refer to him as Jason.
Yeah,
So sorry,
you're that
sorry,
close,
yeah,
right?
that close to him.
You know his real name, not just his
Yes,
street name. I
exactly.
got you. Okay.
Be like, what the frick? But yeah, so this is his new series. The last one he did with Boom was The Red Mother, and so that was a creepy, scary kind of book. And this looks to be something along those same lines, as you can see in the snow, either behind. I'm assuming it's behind the airplane. Is this eyeball-looking creature thingamajigger with little tendrils and stuff?
Really, it looked like a mouth to me.
Oh, that yeah. This is a mouth, and these are like it looks like eyes around it.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah, I see
yeah,
what you say. Yeah.
so definitely looks to be a little creepy. But these guys do that kind of stuff, and they do it well. Their current Kickstarter that's getting ready to be shipped out here soon is called Hauntology. So they're big into the spooky and the scary. So and I think they do a good job. Doug's we're
Yep.
lined up, man. So when you do check it out, let me know what you think. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one. It says it's a 5-issue miniseries. Most of the stuff that he does a finite story. I mean, even I think Red Mother went 10 issues.
Mhm. I think
So it's
10,
always,
11.
and I think people tend to look at new series from Boom and go, "Oh, it's getting a mini series," kind of like Grimm is currently. It's a mini series, but it's got an option to be an ongoing if they really want it, or the sales and all. I really think Han he's got a sort of finite story he wants to tell, and so I'm pretty sure this will be a 5-issue arc. So, but either way, I'm looking forward to checking it out.
And if you do grab this and you like the art, I would definitely recommend Empty Man. Um, Jesus Hervas did Empty Man as well.
Oh, did he? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's good. Oh, yeah, it says right there.
that was very, very memorable to the eyeballs, and it wasn't bad writing either. But the
Yeah,
art was, I think the art really went a long way for Empty Man
yeah,
to
it's good.
bring that one home.
It's a good one. So, all right, what you got next?
All right, next up
Oh, look at this.
is the 25th anniversary edition from Oni because it's
How it has been
Oni's
20.
25th
Oh,
birthday.
okay. I was like, how is it letter
Not
44's
Yeah, no, not
25th
letter
anniversary?
44's 25th anniversary,
I was
but
like, oh my
Oni's.
god.
Actually, basically what this is this is Oni's printing of a hard to get book. Like
Yeah.
what does DC call them? Milestone or
Oh, yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
Something like that. Milestone editions.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But
With the
that's
big
basically.
gold stamp on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what this is. Letter 44. 44 refers to the president. 44, 45.
Oh, it's 44 for this when this came out. Yeah.
Yeah, for the president that got involved, because what happened is the 43rd president, his predecessor, left him a letter telling him some things, and here you go, you get to deal with it.
Good luck.
And
I'm
so that's and this story went for 20 to 30 issues, I think, something like
Yeah, it was
that.
like 30 some odd issues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I collect this whole thing. It was
mhm.
great.
It went for a little while, but you can read the blurb if you want. I don't want to give the blurb away because it's pretty fundamental to the story. I think
Mhm.
almost a spoiler, but needless to say, something that changes humanity's perceptions occurs with the 43rd during the tenure of the 43rd president. Now, the common people don't know. This is like in the president's book that's hidden in the Library of Congress somewhere. So, that kind of thing. But he does leave a letter for the next president, and it is one of the first things that the new president accesses, because it's left to him personally. And so he's like, oh, and it's kind of a bomb drop there to start his presidency, and
Yeah.
the book moves forward from that. It starts very, very early, if not on the first day of this new president, and moves forward with how he handles the situation that he essentially was elected into.
Yep.
Very good stuff. Charles Soule, for those of you that know Charles Soule, he's pretty reliable writer if you like his stuff.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Alberto Albuquerque is the artist, and the cover artist. So this is his art here on the cover. Excellent series. I don't know if Albuquerque did the whole series
Yeah.
though. Did he do
Um,
all of it?
I'll say he did them all, but I can't guarantee
Yeah,
that.
the later books I don't remember. I know Charles
Yeah.
Soule did it all because it's his idea, so
Yeah. Yeah.
he followed it through. Ah, Doug S. has already read it.
Doug, I really feel like Doug is like secretly stalking
I
us
don't
and
know, man.
reading all the same books that we read.
He's pretty simpatico, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, letter 44, good stuff.
Cool. All right, and my last book for this for FOC is The Unbreakable Red Sonja #1 by Jim Zub Giovanni Valetti, and then Lucio Perillo is doing this particular cover. But it's a Red Sonja, it's Dynamite. There's gonna be a lot of covers, so
Yeah.
gonna be some covers in there, and I'm sure if I clicked on this button right there, I would find all of the covers. Here, let's do that just for fun. Show variants. Oh, it's not too many. Oh, there's even issue 2 up. So, let's scroll
There's
down
got
to
to be more
1.
covers than
Never
that.
mind. That was only for issue 2. So this is issue 1. So there's quite a few. Oh, it just keeps going.
No,
Okay.
there we go. That's more like,
So,
come on, Dynamite. Don't disappoint us.
yeah, there we go. So we get quite a few. So because it's Dynamite, and that's what they do. They give you
Yep.
options. That's
Yeah.
what we like. We like
Yeah,
options.
that's what it is. It's an
So
option.
the latest volume of Red Sonja is over. I think this week is the last issue. So this one's coming up. They don't like to take too big of a break in between story arcs and stuff, or not even story arcs, just stories in general. This is not Jim Zub's first, shot at Red Sonja. He's done a couple one shots and a couple stuff, a couple other things a couple years ago. But I think Jim Zub is a pretty solid writer. I've enjoyed a lot of his stuff in the past, and so I think this is only I forget how many issues this is. This is a planned out like you know mini series or something to that effect. So it's not like the last volume. The last volume I think was only like 10 or 11 issues. So you can kind of get in if you're kind of curious about Red Sonja and stuff like that. So you can try this out for a story arc and have a good time. I think Zub will give you what you're paying for. So, but this one is heading toward the 50th anniversary. Good lord, it's been 50 years, I guess so. So next year is gonna be a big year, 2023 for Red Sonja. So Dynamite Entertainment is proud to present a sweeping story of sword and sorcery and high adventure by writer Jim Zub. Do, 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 do.
I have a
Just
question.
it's not a whole lot about this particular, but yeah. So it'll be a lot of childhood stuff and a lot of you know flash forwards and stuff like that.
Was Red Sonja created by Marvel? Didn't they
Mm,
create Red Sonja
they created her in the
when
Conan
they had Conan?
series. Yeah.
How does Dynamite have the publishing rights to it?
So they created. I don't think they personally. I think it was a character that was created under because I mean they owned the license to Conan, or they had were
Eh, right, at that time,
paying
yeah.
for that at the time. So I think anything that was created under that license agreement still belonged to
Reverts to the original license holder.
reverse to the whoever the
Okay.
original license holder
Hmm.
is. So much like
Didn't Marvel name her
Angela.
based on an unnamed character? Well, okay, maybe that's my confusion. The
Yeah,
character
maybe.
existed, but it wasn't named Red Sonja.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, and so if that's the case, then I don't think Marvel really would have any claims to it.
Mm-mm.
So, but yeah, that just now occurred to me. I'm like, her first appearance was in a Marvel book.
Yeah.
How does Dynamite, and Dynamite has had her for a while.
Oh
So
yeah, for sure.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, or she's one of their, like, original characters that
Oh,
they've been
yeah,
publishing her since the early days.
they've made lots of money from
Not as long as they've had Army of Darkness, but, but they've had
well,
her almost as long, so
her
yeah.
and Vampirella, I think.
Mhm. Very true. Good, good stuff. So, alrighty. So,
Don't trust an old man. Well, your old man has better info than even this old man. So that's as far as we'll go for that.
like, I am trying my best to that's one of those things is big of a fan as I used to be of Red Sonja. I just really haven't been reading a whole lot of her lately, but I never have read the Marvel
The
stuff.
original, yeah.
Yeah, I picked up the first 2 issues of her original series, 10 years ago or whatever,
Hmm.
and read those, but I haven't picked up anything since. I did have a number of like, Dynamite did a bunch of reprint trades,
Okay.
and so I had a few of those, but I
Of
had
the
just
Marvel
sort of
stuff.
yeah, the Marvel stuff, but
Okay.
I didn't have excuse me as I was trying to adjust my seat there as I fall over. I didn't have all of them, so I didn't have, like, the first one or something like that, so it was just a couple of them that I had picked up. Um, so I never really got to read all that because I wanted to have them all before I read them all, if that
Right.
made sense.
Yeah.
So
That's
so yeah.
always a catch.
Yeah.
You find two or three of them at a good price, and you're like, oh, but one's missing.
Yep,
Damn, I
you
can't
need to
read
get
it
that
yet. Yeah.
need to get that one, so
Yep.
alright, so that's all of our picks, our 6 picks for the FOC for September 12th.
It is the
We
pick six.
the pick 6, and then let me see here. This is
Frank
nice.
Thorne and later Mary Wilshire. Frank Thorne, I'm familiar with.
Yep.
Mary Wilshire is a new name to me. Hyper. Not that that should surprise anybody, but yeah, Mary Wilshire. Okay.
I'll have to look all
Yeah,
that up.
yeah. That there you go. Another rabbit hole. I'll wait until I'm at
Yeah,
work tomorrow,
for
and I'll jump
and you
down
got
that one.
nothing else to do.
That's it. It's on the clock. Cha-ching. Rabbit hole. All
All
right.
right. So these are books that are coming out next week, being released on September 14th.
Hopefully.
So hopefully, yes.
Uh, being the Cthulhu mark that I am, the Lovecraft Unknown Kadith, or well, not Lovecraft, but Unknown Kadith is the actual title of the book. And this is a retelling of the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadith, which is one of H.P. Lovecraft's, if not his best known story. I'm sure that you can find this in other volumes and other ways. She did some of the '80s stuff I was buying off the racks. Okay, writing it, or because wasn't Frank Thorne an artist?
Yeah, he's an artist.
So was Mary Wilshire an artist, or was she a writer? And we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
But this is from a Blaze Comics. Not new. I think they are a renamed company from a year or two back, and then they are a renamed company from a year or two back. So I think maybe not. Wish Mike was on here. He probably
Yeah, he
knows
would
and
know for sure.
could clear that up. Um, H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu. He is the originator, and it's funny in that he is the originator. He wrote probably the least amount of actual Cthulhu stories of many of the authors that you are familiar with who have written. Um, but he is the originator of the concept of the great old gods and these things like this, losing your mind, and I mean, just the way that that property has just exploded just boggles the mind when you look at how little of it he was actually involved with. It
Yeah.
kind of blew up by other. Basically, what happened is he made the setting, and then for some reason he stepped away, and I don't know if it's because he died or if he turned his attention to other things. But other writers of his time, who were fantasy or science fiction writers, wrote stories,
Mhm.
and there was this cabal of like 6 or 8 guys that each wrote 3, 4, 5 stories, and so the setting just exploded with different things, and that's how it actually grew, not necessarily from Lovecraft himself's
Mhm.
production. So uh, Cthulhu, the Cthulhu mythos, Miskatonic University, which is I like that one. So, anyways, but yeah, anytime anything Cthulhu comes out, it grabs my interest, and so here is, as far as I've seen, the latest installment in that.
Cool. All right, my first one is Seven to Eternity, the deluxe edition hardcover. Uh, I've been a huge fan of Rick Remender for, gosh, as far as I can remember. Definitely, he is one of the more, I think, I don't want to say prolific writers. He's just one of those writers that can, I feel like if you gave him any topic, any subject, he could weave some really involved, very backstory sort of riddled, universe pretty quickly. Seven to Eternity is sort of one of those worlds. It's only 17 issues, which is crazy. I really, it's one of those. It it felt like it could have gone for a very, very long time, but at the same time, he set up our lead character as someone who was dying and knew that they were dying. And so it sort of gave that sense of urgency in the story to deal with the things that he needed to deal with. Uh, you can read the solicitations here, or you can check it out if you've never read it. I highly do recommend it. But not Jerome Pena, he did some of the art in it, and then you have James Harden also doing some of the art on it. Pena did a majority of it, but they worked together with Fear Agent and stuff like that. So that was kind of the original reason why I tried out the first issue of this, and then I think they did like 10 issues or something like that, whatever the first major arc of it was. Then they took a couple of years off, then came back and finished it up, and now they're
Cool.
putting this thing together. It's 500. It says 544 pages, $60. This is going to be a behemoth of a hardcover, and I'm looking forward to picking it up, and it being oversized. I'm kind of curious on when you say oversized, what the actual dimensions of that bad boy are going to
Hmm.
be. Is it omnibus like oversized, or is just oversized because it's got over 500 pages in it?
Right.
Either
Right.
way, we'll see. But definitely a book. Image is publishing this. If I didn't say so already, and they published the original miniseries or 17 issue series. So if you've not checked it out, I highly recommend checking it out, and maybe that'll give you an opportunity to check out some of Remender's other stuff. So,
Strange Girl always comes to mind when I think of Rick
oh
Remender.
yeah,
I
and that
really enjoyed
was
that series.
yeah, that was one of his early stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do. Not
That
too
was
many people bring that up. Bring
that
that
was
series
another
up.
supernaturally influenced
Mhm.
kind of story there with the, I believe she was a demon or she was like the daughter of the devil or something like that.
Doug, I've been waiting on this one. Been read the first two trades. Yeah, excellent. Yep, it's
Cool.
good stuff. All right, what you got next?
All right,
Oh, this is a
next
good
up
one.
from Dark Horse Comics is Castle Full of Blackbirds. What caught my attention was that this is Hellboy adjacent,
Hmm.
and I am on a quest now that I got to a certain point to keep up with all of the Hellboy books as they come out, because I went on a binge here a couple years ago to catch up and read all Hellboy stuff,
Nice.
the world, not just his stuff, but Abe Sapien,
Hmm.
and the Koshai books that have come out, and just the different offshoots of that. And this is has one of the characters, Effie Kolb, who was in a recent uh, one shot. I think this was, and this follows up directly from that one shot with that character. So that piqued my interest. She goes to a girls' school because some freaky things are going on, and if you read the one shot with her, she she was kind of the freaky thing that was in the one the one shot, as opposed to Hellboy went to her because of the weirdness. So now she is taking her weirdness and going investigating some other weirdness somewhere. Uh, Mike Mignola is, I'm not sure. He may be just like supervising this. Uh,
Yeah, it's kinda like, yeah, he does that a lot now because I don't think he's actually doing any of the writing now,
the
but
writing
I
or really the art, except for maybe a cover or something like that.
yeah, I
Yeah, a
think
lot of
he's more like the supervisor.
right.
So they
Yeah.
come to him with, "Hey, this is a thing I wanna do," and he's like, "Let me take a look at it,"
Yep. Let me see how we can fit it in, and
Yep.
yeah. So which is good that the Hellboy universe has that shepherd
Oh,
because it
yeah.
could
Yeah.
get pretty crazy if not. But yeah, Michelle Madsen, Angela Slater, Mike Mignola, Wiley Beckert, and Valerie Burzo are listed as the creatorials on that
Mhm.
issue.
Yeah, and I've wanted to do what you said you did to get caught up. I mean, just
Hmm.
pick up the trades of all the Hellboy stuff and all the world around it. And I have every so often I'll pick up a one shot here and there, or pick up a mini series, especially when BPRD was going
Right.
strong.
Hmm.
I picked up probably the last half of that series or series of miniseries up until the world ended, basically. And thoroughly enjoyed it. But I just haven't gotten back into it. And I want to so bad.
The funny thing is I went through the motions. I found a list, probably on a Hellboy fan site, something like that, and went through the motions of gathering, all of these different things to start reading them. As soon as I got done, they started putting out those library editions of
Oh,
everything
really?
in chronological order, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So
Yeah,
basically,
thanks.
if I'd have just waited 3
Yeah,
more years, you would have done it
right.
for me. So, yeah, thanks.
That's how that works out.
Yeah, yeah, I was like, and the funny thing is, they'd been putting out trades and everything, and Hellboy'd been around for years,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
but none of it had been collected in that manner before.
yeah,
So, if you wanted to read either in publication order or chronological order, you had to do a lot of footwork
yeah,
because of just how Mignola and people wrote it,
yeah.
but yeah, as soon as I finished, it was like I was like I had 2 or 3 more books, to read, and I saw the solicitation for exactly what I had just spent the last 3 years doing. I
Be
was
like,
like, "Oh,
dagnabbit.
yeah, okay. That's cool." Good
But,
stuff,
but it's
Hellboy
been a
universe.
dark horse this entire time.
Oh, man, yeah.
I mean, even when it first started, I mean, Hellboy first appeared back in, Next Men, the John Byrne series,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure that was published by Dark Horse, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
So,
John Burns' Next Man, yeah,
yep. So,
and that was in the early '90s,
early '90s, yeah.
right about the time that, the Image explosion came, I think
Yeah.
was when Next Men was coming out.
God, I might have to buy Next Men. I keep thinking about doing that again. That'll be like the 4th time I've owned that series if I
Oh,
buy
really?
it again. Yeah, oh, I've bought that series multiple times over the years. I bought it when it originally came out, thoroughly enjoyed it, bought the graphic novel, the,
Mhm.
2112 and all that stuff, and, had a great time with it and, got rid of it, and a couple years later, I'm like,
I
I
want
wanna
that
read that
again.
again.
Yeah.
And I never go and look. I don't even know if it's even collected. I just go out and buy the single issues again. So it's good stuff. I never do buy the issue that Hellboy's in, because that's expensive.
Yeah.
The other ones are pretty affordable. That particular one is well over, what the whole series is worth. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
but,
rather expensive.
I just go, "Oh, yeah, that happened during that story," and then I just keep going. So so my next pick is Powers Volume 1 trade paperback. No, this is not a misprint. This is Dark over at Dark Horse again. We're still hanging out with the Dark Horse folks. Um they Brian Michael Bendis is taking taking all of his stuff and setting up shop over at Dark Horse now. So if you're a longtime Bendis fan, you know that's a thing that happens a lot. So and when that happens, we get new printings of everything, which is great because not only does it keep that stuff in the in the book market, so new people can check it out, but even us old folks who don't have those issues or even those original trades anymore can go back and pick up the trades again and go, oh, I remember when this was good. I remember when Bendis really just made some incredible, table reading, bunch of talking heads and making them interesting, you know? So this was
Yeah.
good
Uh,
stuff.
okay.
Did you read Powers when it first came out?
When it first came out, no, but I have
Oh, okay.
read the first, probably 2 or 3 trades worth of
Okay.
series.
Yeah, I was a big Powers fan. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Back when, the TV series dropped, I thought, "Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
should read this to see what the source is for what I'm watching on the TV here."
Yep. When
And
it aired on whatever PlayStation Network or
yeah, I was gonna
whatever.
say one of the consoles,
That
yeah.
was why I couldn't watch it because I couldn't get a hold of because I didn't own
It
a
was
PlayStation.
it was entertaining. It
That's
was
good.
not it certainly did not start out like the beginning of the TV series did not start like this first
Yeah,
part of volume 1. It was yeah, so
yeah. So if you haven't checked out Powers, here's your opportunity.
do it.
It's one of those sort of I don't say it's a must reading for comic fans these days, but it is as
It's
close to it as possible.
yeah, it definitely should be considered a touchstone.
Yeah.
Brian Michael Bendis and Michael Avon Oeming.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, two men at this time who are at the height of their powers.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. All right. What you? Oh, here's another one. Another one of those
Yes.
25th anniversaries.
My next pick is the Oni 25th anniversary edition of Sixth Gun #1. This is by Mr. Cullen Bunn. Cannot get away from Cullen Bunn. He is
Nope.
everywhere. So, Oni Press. This is the story, and this went like 50, 60 issues,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like
This is a
that.
long running one.
Um, 6 uh, supernatural pistols. And basically, actually, it evolves to be the story of all of them. But it starts out as the story of one, because one of the pistols is acquired by a rather mortal young lady, and the owners of the other 5 are interested in gaining a second one, all of them, because they can't get the ones from each other because they're too evenly matched. So they decide, well, man, if I can get a matching set, I'll get this one from this mortal and have a matching set of these supernatural 6 shooters. And so it's set in a quasi western setting and good good stuff.
Yep.
Um, some of the lighter psychological horror, I think, that Cullen has done. So it's not necessarily as brain heavy as some other stuff that he's done, particularly recently. He's
Yeah.
really gotten into some deep stuff recently.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this was a little bit. I thought, and I still think it's been a little while since I've read it, but I believe that my impression was that it's a little bit lighter than a lot of the Cullen Bunn stuff that you'll pick up now. Uh, Speaking of which, he just had Shock Shop drop yesterday,
Yep.
right? #1, which I didn't get because I went all ape and went on his website and got a special edition first issue. So
Oh yeah.
I've got it
Good
coming
for
in the
you.
mail. Yeah, so I didn't pick up the first issue. I'll get the others as they come out, but I
Yeah. Yeah.
went to him and got one of his uber collectible first issues.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Have to check that out when you get it in.
Yeah, I was hoping that I would have it already because I got the notice a couple days ago that it was in the mail, but hopefully I'll have it for next show.
It'll show up tomorrow. That's
Yeah, really. Yeah.
fine. All right, my last pick is a DC book. This is the Batman versus Robin mini series. When I first read the solicitation, I thought this was tying into the Batman Superman World's Finest series. But then I saw another solicitation that said something about it also tying in with Shadow War. And I'm like, well, those are two totally different things. The confusion even made it worse because Mark Wade is writing World's Finest, and it's probably one of the best books that DC is writing or has on the shelf right now. And so he's not writing anything that's sort of in continuity as far as like Batman stuff goes. And so I was a little confused by that, but it does seem that this is having something to do with what's going on in World's Finest, but more focusing on sort of the aftermath of the Shadow War event that happened that was going on through Batman and Robin, their series, as well as Deathstroke. And so the solicitation makes you think that there is a dead character that will be coming back to life. If you're a longtime reader of Batman, I won't spoil that for you because you already know who that might be. If this does happen, awesome, well worth it. Think Mark Waid will weave us a nice little tale to bring that fan favorite character back. Um, if that is not what's going to happen, missed opportunity. So, but either way, it's Mark Waid and Mahmoud Asar who's doing the art on it. Jordy Belair is doing the coloring. So it's going to be a great looking book, if anything.
Yes.
So, but again, Mark Waid's writing it, so it's going to be enjoyable regardless. So I'm not reading a whole lot of Batman or Robin. Shadow War kind of did it for me. I was like, I'm going to take a break. I was like, even though Chip Zdarsky is writing the new, I did pick up his first issue, and it was okay, but it wasn't like the best thing ever kind of thing. So I was just like, all right, well, I'll come back to this at some point. So this miniseries will be my Batman feed for for what I will consider my reading for right now. So all right, so that's all of our books for next week. Hopefully, you'll check out some of these. If you do, be sure to drop us a line on Twitter or something like that and let us know what you picked up and what you thought of those books. Were we crazy in suggesting these, or did we hit the nail on the head there? So hopefully, we came close. So. All right, so let's switch over to talk about some books that we have been reading. I've very much missed reading comics for the show. As weird as that sounds, I thoroughly. It's one of those things where I know when I'm reading something just within a couple pages. I'm like, yep, we're gonna talk about this on the show. And then there's some I'm like, well, I really enjoyed that, or I really didn't enjoy that. And I don't really like talking about books I don't enjoy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like,
Unlike a whole swath of people out there on Twitter and
yeah,
wherever. Yeah.
I just it doesn't do me
I think
any
they read
favors.
things just to have something bad to say
I
even.
think so
I mean,
too. There's
yeah.
times where I feel that's the case, but we'll see. So, all right, let's dive into your first book.
All right. First up is a Kickstarter. Apex Cybernetic Samurai Owl.
That is the greatest
I mean,
title.
the name just sells
Yeah,
it
it
sells
does.
itself. It really does. This comes to us from, let's see here, Kenny Aiken, who is the writer and did colors, Brian Belando, who did pencils and inks, Justin Birch, who did letters, and Rich Bloom, who did the Apex English and Japanese logos in the book.
Cool.
So we have kind of a soft open on one page here. It says Japan some time ago, and we have 4 panels of a gentleman meditating whose meditation is disrupted by an image of our cybernetic samurai owl here that we see on the cover. And that's him too, the big dude in the armor there in the mid ground. That is him. These 2 birds here in the foreground, right and left lower, are adversaries. The gentleman in the middle is a samurai that he ends up training with. The gentleman in profile here on the left is the head of the big bad agency. And then those are like cyber ninjas back there in the back behind him. I mean, it has everything that you need, samurai, ninjas, animals. cybernetically enhanced animals, and a swarthy looking bad dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's all you need.
everything is there. So after our little quick soft opener, the main story opens at a some sort of uh, once you get several pages in, you see that it's a research installation. But when you first see it, it could be research, it could be somebody's residence. It almost looks like a castle, like a modern castle. So it's hard to tell when you first see it what it is. We are at Mount Adoke in Japan in the year 20XX. So it could be going on right now for all we know. Could be in the future. Could have already happened. That's the wonderful thing about choosing 20XX as your year.
Right, yeah.
This was written in 2021, or it was published in 2021. So, um, what is going on is they are researching on cybernetically augmenting something, and you go deeper and deeper into the book until about, let's see, about halfway. You finally see that it's probably some kind of animal. All you see are shadows, and of course, the shadows can be made to look like anything, just depending on how they're rendered. So you're never sure. And then by the end of the book, you see, like the last third of the book, you have a full body shot, and you see that it does pretty much look like an owl. Now, a standard owl, not any of those really weird ones with the funky fluffs and tufts all over the place or anything like that. Just a pretty stereotypical, if I can use that word,
Mhm.
owl, except that it is man size. Um,
Oh, except for that one part.
but yeah, yeah, it's just the little things. And he has been, or she, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be sexist. It has been experimented on, and for some reason, it gains enough consciousness during the experimentating to decide that it wants to break out. Now, it is interesting in that I have read three issues of this series, which is the first volume essentially, and the first issue of the next volume. So that's four books, 20 some pages a book. And this creature has never spoken a word. It has never uttered a syllable, not a sound when it gets hit, when it falls out of the sky and hits the ground. It's not nothing. It makes no noise. So you have to discern, everything from the art involving the creature personally. Now, the samurai takes to calling this creature Apex because it has a partial um, it's not even armor, but it's almost like partial plate mail, if you will, like a
Mhm.
knight. It's got a breastplate, and it's got two semi gauntlets, and it's got a couple uh, thigh pad looking things like a football player would have, metallic. Um, and that actually turns out to be the Apex module, all of those metal pieces, according to the organization that created this creature. Um, by the end of the first issue that I have in my hand, you don't know, you have not found out yet what that is for. Just that it is a part of him, because after he escapes, the final third of the book is 5 years later, and that's when he is training with the samurai. Samurai calls him Apex. We see the armor in several full body shots. Because of the training and the emotional bond that the samurai has. And even here, looking at my notes, we don't even find out the samurai's name in the first issue. It comes, actually, we don't find out the samurai's name until the first issue of the second volume because it starts involving his daughter. And
Oh,
she refers to her dad by name, and it turns out to be Doodleo here. Um, so the cybernetically enhanced owl escapes. He is referred to as Unit 10, and he is in possession of the Apex module. That No. That is about the most information that we have on the creature personally. Um, we finished the book with him training with the samurai, and the bond is such that the samurai grants Apex a pair of, he calls them uh, samurai swords, which is kind of a misnomer.
Yeah.
But they look more like slightly toned down versions of what what comes to mind. There's a comic book about a dude with a big sword by Comics Tribe that came out recently.
Oh,
Does that?
Wailing Blade?
Yeah, the blades are kind of like that,
Oh,
about
okay.
half that size, but they
Yeah,
are much bigger than the traditional katana or wakizashi that the samurai
yeah.
wields. And so he gifts Apex a pair of those, and so Apex starts training with those. The book finishes with the cybernetic ninja from the cover being led by these two other birds down here at the bottom of the cover, as they have found Apex to bring him back. And the samurai dons this helmet, this mask that he has on for the first time there as well at the very
Mm,
end of the book. Too, so it's the book finishes basically with a Apex and Samurai back to back fighting all the bad guys scene, and
sure.
that's where we're left in the first issue. Now, having read on, there are more answers given. Um, most of the questions are answered. A couple new questions pop up by the end of the first volume, and then the first issue of the second volume occurs X number of years after the last issue of the first volume. So there's even another gap, and things have uh, advanced even more by the start of the next volume of the book.
Mhm.
Interesting thing that caught my attention right off the bat. Um, Chris, have you bought any newer editions of sports cards?
Yes.
That concept where they limit release of, or they chase card and they call it a canvas card,
Yeah. Yeah.
that is the texture of this
Oh,
cover. Yeah,
nice.
I was really intrigued by that. It still has kind of a paper sound to it,
Yeah.
but it feels like that the canvas finish on those
It's an
cards.
interesting choice.
Yeah, yeah, it was. All three of the um, first volume are like that. Now the first issue of the second volume is a slick, shiny cover. So
Yeah.
they changed up for whatever reason. But yeah, this is, and I bought, I saw on Kickstarter the first issue of the second volume, but in that I hadn't caught the first volume, I uh, got the level that gave me the first volume
Mhm.
in physical copies as well. So on Kickstarter, it was the second volume that they had. The first volume was on there, had been on there also, but it had been several years ago.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's where I got it. So
Cool.
there we go.
Yeah, there's there are days, episodes where we get together and you show this stuff and I'm like, "You know what? I maybe I'll just go and just do Kickstarter for a
Eh,
couple months and that's all I
It,
buy."
yeah,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be bad.
No.
And now, everybody's machine is just humming along on Kickstarter. So
Right.
people
Yeah.
are coming back either with continuations or with
Mhm.
the next story, different characters that they want to
Yep.
do. And yeah, it's a very rich platform. And also for those of you hyper that like the booby books and things like that, there's a lot of those. And honestly, not in a disparaging way, but Mr. Mike Myers is much more an aficionado of those than I, and can probably point you to the better of those books as well.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, maybe one of these days. Maybe that's where I'm at, like we talked at the beginning of the show. I'm sort of in that I'm enjoying what I'm reading and stuff like that, but that list of like, oh, I can't wait to go to the comic shop and
Yeah.
pick up, 20 books. It's gotten pick up like four or five, and even those I'm like, oh, that was good, but I need something else. I feel like I'm sort of reading almost the same things
Well,
over and
yeah,
over
it's
again, and that
and
maybe
I mean,
trying out kick.
Kickstarter is the place for, this really wouldn't work for a major publisher.
Right.
So
Yep.
Mike knows his booby books. Well, he knows a lot of different books, but
Oh, for
he
sure.
he is a fan of the more titillating Kickstarters, I believe. Yes.
He consumes quite the volume of comics.
Hmm.
So if there's someone, no, I feel like, who can give you a good uh, an opinion of a certain set of books, he would be the guy to go
Yeah,
to.
certainly.
He can compare and contrast. So, all right. So, so my first book up is you mentioned Boogeyman a couple times, so that just made me giggle. I was like, I've got a book I want to talk about.
But not that boogeyman.
Not that
Yes.
Boogeyman. So, this is the Boogeyman number one, out by Ablaze. It's written by Matteo Salvia, and cover artist is Jet. Is the D silent? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Um, but yeah, I brought this up, I think, with FOC or something like that a
Hmm.
while back, and so had a chance to check it out. And so this particular, first off, I didn't know what to expect. I think I even said that with the FOC. Like, I don't know. I'm looking for something new to read, something different, and didn't know exactly what to expect from this. The solicitations made it read that this was going to be a kid who was having to deal with a boogeyman. I'm like, okay. I mean, there's something there, but there's got to be some story to it. First off, going into it, the art in it is great. The cover art is, I don't know if Jet did this particular cover art, but the interior art is really, really good. And I'm assuming that they also did the coloring as well. Because I didn't see anybody else that was listed for it. But it is really a good looking book. It is a dark story, and so there are times where it needs to be super dark, and the character designs are that match it very well. But it's great to look at. So the story itself is about this little kid who his parents are murdered in front of him at their home. Someone invades their home, kills them, and is out to get him as well. And he is protected by the boogeyman, basically. And there's a lot that I'm trying to. I really want folks to read this because the sort of the bigger world that was being developed in this first issue was pretty interesting. But what I will say is that the boogeyman that you can see in this cover in the background is the one that saves him, but it doesn't save him because he's a good guy. He just saves him because he didn't want the boy to die. Um, but the person that was there, the murderer that was there killing his parents, escapes. But it's one of those things where the he was sent there. He was going there anyway, but was doubting himself, and so he had darker forces that sort of pushed him to their front door. And so there are other mysterious forces at work in this particular thing. Um, so that those little pieces and concepts, building um, sort of the fabric of what the story is, intrigues me a lot. I don't know for sure how long, if this is a mini series or what, but it definitely is setting itself out to be something that can be just a single story, but there's a whole lot more. I mean, there's obvious things that are they're said that in this issue that makes it very obvious that things have taken place before this issue starts that get us to this first issue. And so that intrigues me and want to, I want to see a little more about that and see, why these characters are interacting the way they are and stuff like that. So this is pretty good first issue for something I didn't know entirely what it was going to be about. So um I've got it on my list to check out the second issue. So hopefully I get more of the same with this and we'll go from there. So
Cool beans.
yep. I just enjoy reading a book that I don't know what to expect.
Right, right.
Hadn't really seen any interior art of it until I started reading this issue and just was like, oh, sweet.
Well, you've got several interesting series coming up just from Boom
Oh yeah, yeah.
that
It's
they've.
gonna be that tone. Definitely, that tone of story is kind of up my alley, and so yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
several of
quite a
those.
few.
All right. My next pick was another Kickstarter from Power Comics Group entitled The Masters. Um, it is, well, actually, it is brought to us by a variety of people, and that is what intrigued me about this. Um, there are several vignettes, basically, because in this first issue, what is happening is the big bad, who remains unknown, unseen by the end of the first issue, is gathering his evil masters. And so the title of the book, and these are not them. These are the good guys in this universe. Yeah, even up here in the corner box. So these are good guys who don't really show up except in advertisements in a couple places. So I'm not even 100% sure what their names are, but I did maybe I ran across that when I went to their website and was looking. So um, you can see that he is holding a book on this cover. And I believe that this is a variant cover. This cover that he's holding down here is the A cover for this book. And each of the lights has a head, and the names of the bad guys are listed there. So that is the A cover telling you what's going to go on in the book. This B cover, this has really nothing to do with the contents of this particular issue,
It's just
which,
a great Justice League,
yes, yeah. Well, I
Europe.
mean, it's not bad. I mean,
Yeah,
first of all, that's Purdy. Um,
yeah.
and looking here, I don't know if it tells me, it doesn't tell me who did the cover, but okay. People involved. The first story is by Austin Huff with pencils and inks by Pat Broderick and colors and letters by Mort Todd. The second story is layouts by Jeff Isherwood and finishes by Alan Milgram. I think we know who that is.
Yep.
The next story, pencils by Ron Wilson, inks by Joe Rubenstein. The next story is penciled by Alex Saviak and inks by Al Milgram. So I'm thinking probably all of these stories must be by Austin Huff. He is the brain behind these. There should be one more if you'll bear with me, and I'll flick to it. Let's see, should be right here. Yes, the final story. Well, the next to last story is penciled by Mike Gustovich and inked by Andrew Popoy. And then the final is penciled by Pat Broderick and inked by Bob Almond. So just a host of names there.
Yeah.
So the big bad in each vignette is offering an opportunity to a different bad guy via large sums of gold coins, and they all agree. So our collection of bad guys is going to be the big bad, who, as I said, remains unnamed, but his group is Surreal Ordeal, The Clerk, Graffiti, Panorama, and Monsieur Petit Renard, Renault, Renard, Renault, Petit Renault. So, if you just sit a minute and think about the names of these characters, it has a very almost golden agey kind of feel to it. The writing wasn't that way and the art wasn't that way, but it was very uh, how can I be nice? Very well, it was very unencumbered.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Okay, like golden and a lot of Silver Age
Yeah.
writing were. It doesn't take itself seriously like, you know,
Mhm.
Image Comics forward.
Yeah.
It's not grim and gritty. It's not, um, you know, uberly destructive or violent, or
Mhm.
it's comics written and drawn to be in a comic book to be entertaining.
Right.
And so far, that seems to be the message that Austin is trying to give us in the book. He is having a good time writing, and through whatever connections he has, getting some of these names, to art the book. And so everybody just seems to be having a good time producing this book. That's the way it felt to me. There is a page in here where we see these good guys that are on the cover, but again, they're not named. And I did run into their names somewhere. It wasn't in the book, but they also continued that trend of that golden silver agey feel as far as the names are concerned. Um, but the writing is fun. It's light so far. It had to be fairly light. I mean, only there's six individual stories in the book, so each one is only like 5 or 6 pages long.
Mhm.
So you can't get too heavy with it.
You gotta get in and out real quick.
Yeah, yeah, pretty quickly. But Isherwood, Milgram, Broderick, Gustovich, Saviak, just lots of eye candy of older generations,
Mhm.
shall we say? You know, um, Made me go to the website to see what I'd missed. Because I'm like, I like the world, I like the people. This is just good fun. And it's the only book.
Oh.
So, yeah, they have this whole plan, that they talk about on the website. And actually, the 2nd of September, the second and third issues were supposed to be kickstarted, but they weren't. I
Oh.
I can't find out what happened. With issues of this book 4 and 5 supposed to be kickstarted like the first week of October. So that would make me think that the books are done. They're just trying to get money to print them. But they have a Facebook page where they didn't explain anything, and the uh, Austin Huff has a Twitter. He didn't say anything there, so I'm not sure what's going on. If when the next segments come out on Kickstarter, I'll get an email through my backing this Kickstarter, so I'll
Yeah.
know. But as far as forewarned, there's nothing there other than it should have already been out. But so good fun, lighter comic fair, and I think that's why I liked it. It
Yeah.
was,
Oh, it sounds good.
so yeah, more good stuff, more good stuff via Kickstarter.
Bring more of that, please. That is what we're looking for. As what is it? iFanboy, they rate books on the gosh meter, which
Hmm.
is just, just how much does the book make you kind of gosh is good old fashioned superheroes or something
Hmm.
like that. So if it makes you feel that way, then I feel like it's a good book. So
Yeah. Yep.
all right, so my next book is Once in Future number 29. This is from Boom Studios. Uh, Obviously, it is written by Karen Gillan and illustrated by Dan Mora, colored by Tamara Did we ever decide
Bonvillain,
Bonvillain? Is that how
I
we pronounce
believe.
it? Letter by Ed Dukeshire, cover by Dan Moore, this particular one. And there are a couple other variants and whatnot. So, designer is Madison Goyette. So, for all you Boom Addiction fans. So, this is the penultimate issue of this series.
Oh,
It all wraps. All my Boom books are ending.
no doubt.
but they're bringing me a lot of
Well, no, you
new
had
ones.
another one start that I'll talk about here in a minute. So
That's true. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
so
true. Well, did it really start or just continue?
well, yeah, just
So,
continue. Came back.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So if you've never heard of Once and Future, you've never listened to the show. If you've
Or boom
never
addiction for
or
that
Boom
matter.
Addiction, yeah. So welcome. Yeah,
I
that's
think we talked about it on just about every episode of Boom
yeah.
Addiction somehow.
I for me to do a rundown of a 29 issue series so far, I'm not going to. Basically, it's good old Arthurian mythology and storytelling brought to the real world, and sort of how stories um, can take over everything that we know and love. So it started off as a fairly straightforward story, and once they got the green light to put some extra issues in there, and boy howdy did they run with it.
Yeah, it was no longer a
It
straightforward
was no
story.
longer so
Oof.
this is probably one of the more complex books that I've read in a very long time. I put it up there with, and I know I'm going to get hate for this, but I put it there sort of in line with Morning Glories,
Okay.
with the fact that there's so much going on. Now, Morning Glories, we didn't know a lot of why things are happening. This book, Once the Future, is pretty good about telling you why things are happening. They don't exactly tell you the why or the when the why happens, like in this particular issue. Um, but at the same time, I do feel like you're not left with too many questions a few issues in, as far as like, oh well, how did this happen? Oh, okay, well they kind of explained it along the way. So it's so I've enjoyed that. Again, this is the last issue, and or the next to last issue. And so we there's we know that we're gonna have some major conflict, and there's going to be an Arthur out there of some kind. There's going to be someone is going to wield Excalibur. Somebody is going to piss off Merlin, whether it be the Merlin that we know or the Merlin that we haven't seen yet. And yes, there'll be more characters that will probably be introduced along the way.
Yeah.
And there's only one issue to go. So I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea that we're not trying to wrap stuff up in in this issue to allow the last issue to be sort of the epilogue. Is If there is an epilogue, I'm sure there will be. It'll probably only be like a page or two at the end of the next issue, because there's a lot to go through to deal with after this particular issue. um As you notice, I'm not giving you very specific stuff. Again, I really feel like if you're curious enough about this particular series, that you've gone back to the first issue to read it. I feel like that's really the best way to read this series. It's going to be 30 issues. They've already put out one deluxe hardcover that holds like the first 14 or 15, 16 issues or something like that. And I'm almost certain, because of the success of those, that particular one, then, you know, that, oh, I just saw that. Hyper, I wish we could convince Chris to give more Boom Books a chance. If you
Oh,
only knew. If you
Hyper,
only knew.
you need to follow Chris on Twitter,
Oh,
which
dear
just
Lord.
makes that even more amusing this
What
week.
Yeah, what I
Uh,
can't really show you,
oh man.
hold on, let me put this down here. Oh no, I gotta change my camera. So what you see here behind me, these short and you can't even see all of them, because there's like two more behind here. Of all of these boxes, and I think you can probably see 12 of them, there's seven, or excuse me, there's 14 boxes, seven on the bottom, seven on the top. Of those, 7 of those are boom books
Half.
that I have bought in the last 3 years, 4 years maybe. The other are Savage Dragon, um, Amazing Spider-Man, Invincible Iron Man, and then miscellaneous. Yeah, so Oh,
Yes,
so
okay.
so there you go. Hyper is like, yeah,
Yep.
he does follow me. So
And a lot of those Boom books, Chris, are rebuys?
yes, most of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So not to go down that long history that you and I
Oh,
both have.
we have a
We've
history with Boom. Just listen to the Boom Addiction podcast,
yes,
all 3 volumes, I
three
think.
vol. Yeah,
Yeah, almost 100 episodes,
it was
right?
getting close.
Wasn't that what we were getting
Yeah, we
close
were in
to?
the high 80s. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
So
so
we'll
and that
we'll
goes
we'll go
back
back eventually to finish that up.
many years, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but yeah. So this particular this particular series is one of my favorites, and so yeah. I didn't really know. I have enjoyed the fact that the last few issues, I have no idea what the next issue will hold because there's so much to tell. So many different directions we could go in. We're at the, like I said, 29th issue of 30, and I have no idea where, like, I know plot points that will happen, but I don't know where we're going to end this series, and so I do enjoy that. So Karen Gillan has done a great job of pushing the story along and really making it interesting. It is complex at times. There are times where I have to go back a couple issues and like, I need to reread a bunch of stuff, to really kind of get back into it, or at least to feel like I know where I am in the overall story. But it's still good. I've enjoyed it. Dan Mora's art. This is the series that Dan Mora, sort of became the Dan Mora that we all know and love now, who does tons of work at DC and does massive amounts of cover art. I don't know how the dude is able to have a family life, and his work life balance is amazing. If he's able to keep sane for as much stuff as he is generating, but at the same time, the dude can draw some of the best stuff out there. So
If, if there are any, Marvel fans listening, Kieran Gillen did, 17 issues of Loki,
yeah.
and his style of writing is the same for Once and Future that he used in Loki. It's a very multi-thread,
Oh yeah.
some of them going off and you think never coming back. Some of them stay very close to the central thread, and he'll every now and then a thread will weave from way back and it'll get tied off and finished up, and then it's his is a style of writing that he has to have a Bible with notes
Oh, for sure.
to plan, as well as the story is constructed for as complex as it gets. I mean, it's not a, well, I just have it all in my head and I just write.
Well,
Yeah,
and
no,
that would be an interesting thing to see if that is the case. Just, handwritten, book that just, like, what didn't make the cut,
oh
at
yeah, really.
times.
What
Those would
didn't
be
you
the
use?
those
Wow.
would be the things I'd like to see,
Yeah, but
you know.
it's. I mean, it's well written and it's tight.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's only going to be the tightest if you're in the man's head. If you're not in his head,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
you're you're gonna have to do some backtracking to, what was that? Did that come up before? Yeah, 3
Mhm.
issues back, somebody said that, yeah,
Yep.
it's, Kieran Gillen's reading his stuff is more a job than it is, for a lot of other writers out there right now. It's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
bad job,
No, no.
if it's something you're interested in, it'll be easy to do, but it's
Mhm.
not a job. Work, I'm sorry, that would be the better word. It's work.
Yeah.
Fun work. It pays off, but it's work.
It's the best kind.
Yep.
Alright, what you got next?
All right. My last book is Wind, the Throne of the Sky, which is the first issue of the third volume of the Wind epic. Well, no, it's not necessarily an epic, but
Oh, it feels it.
oh man,
At this point, it does.
we returned to this, and it just, oh, this is so good coming from James Tiny in the fourth, Michael Dialinus, and World Designs. And that's it. created by Tiny and Michael Diolinus, who is the the volumes have only been coming out when both men have been free to do it.
Mhm.
That's how invested the two creators are in this. So we the book starts before the first issue of the series. It's not necessarily an origin, but we see a the beginning of a pathway, the beginning of a walk that these characters go on. We go all the way back to the um, probably the biggest human city called Pipe Town, and that's where we. Man, that was so fun when that first issue when we first ran into Wind, and he's living with the woman who is the cook, and he's wanting to work there, but he has to work a different place in the mines and the city. And oh, that just brings back such fun memories. I'll have to pull all those out. Um, this is the beginnings of our story before the beginning of our story. We're reintroduced, I should say, to Wind and Oakley, who are uh, Wind, of course, is the primary protagonist. It's his name on the book. His companion is as primary as any of the secondary characters are in the book. I mean, the book is and continues to be about Wind almost exclusively, and these other people are his support or story support. And his young friend Oakley is just that. It was the first of his supporting characters that we're introduced to, and we see a little bit more about them and Oakley's mother and um, the guard or former guard by the time we find him, Roderick, that were introduced in the first issue. Then we have a nice two-page art spread with a multi-paragraph recap in text. And we're refreshed with the fact that our group is now 7 people strong, where originally it was Wind and Oakley. We also have Thorn, Bastion, Teak, Yorick, and Marion. All human. Well, what? 5 of them are humans. 2 of them are weirdlings. At least 2. Weirdlings are people that have more than just human blood. We know that actually, I think both of them, Wind and was it Oakley, I believe, have fairy blood in them, and then Marion is a full fairy. Well, yeah, she's a full fairy. She looks like a plant creature, I think, but like
Yeah.
look she looks Kotati to me, but that's
That's
okay.
true, yeah.
um, and so we pick up with them having to they're venturing. It is the Fellowship of the Wings, if I might
Nice.
borrow that. Yes, thank you. Um, it has a very very fellowshippy feel there at the first part. Um, they're walking along, not sure what they're going to do, and they find an inn that's called a free home, free house, where anybody can stay. And uh, as far as they know, purportedly, if you don't have money, they will still accept you and feed you, and you can stay for a night, which is what they're hoping on because they have no money, they have no anything out of food, and so and it turns out to be true because it seems that most of the people, if not all of the people here in this particular inn, are all weirdlings. Also, they have all kinds of strange appendages, and yeah, you can just tell that they're not human. So much so that it makes me think that there are more than just humans, fairies, and vampires on this planet. Because unless a lot of these people are interbreedings of fairies, who typically are the most unhuman looking. I mean, the vampires don't necessarily count because they're bad guys, and they're so bad that nobody's going to want to mate with a vampire anyways to
Right.
have offspring. So, it's like an orc. They're over there doing their own thing, even though they're part of the world. But yeah, a lot of different configurations of biology for the characters in this house. We also have scenes in Ascendiel, which is the fairy capital, and Orthoc, which is the vampire capital. I don't know that those two places have necessarily been laid out for us that way. Ascendiel, we have been there before, but Orthoc might be. I don't remember if it was named specifically or not. That's the vampire capital. Ascendiel is the fairy capital. We have short scenes in each of those cities. The Ascendial scene is much more, I think, important to the story than the scene in the vampire capital. The we see the fallout from the end of the second volume as it sweeps through Ascendial and causes the fairies to make some shifts in the way they think and the way they want to do things, particularly in their dealings with humans. And then the scene in the vampire capital basically is just adding some fuel to the fire as to why the vampires are interested in wind. Uh, oh, hyper! That's excellent, man. I hope you like it. I think you will from other things that you've said, but it's really been um, a great story. Now, you honestly may be at a slight disadvantage if this issue is the very first issue you've read. I don't think it will be completely off-putting. Um, uh, in this first issue, everything that you need to read this book moving forward is there, but you may have questions about why the beginning of this book is where it is. And so then, if you're that kind of reader, then you may miss not having that story of the previous two volumes. But as far as this book, starting where it starts, the story so far is complete in of itself. You don't have to have um, anything that isn't on these pages is explained enough on these pages that you can move forward pretty easily with what I'm going to assume is the rest of the story. But yeah, definitely, man. If you read this and you like it, say something. And if you do like it, get the probably the easiest way would be to get the trades of the first two volumes.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, if you like this book, definitely jump back and get the previous two volumes because you will like them just as much. Did you read this, Chris?
No, I haven't had a chance to.
Oh, too bad. It's
I
yeah, it
know. Well, you talking about it, I'm trying to listen to you at the same time, trying to not listen to you, and
right.
so it's
Yeah,
just kinda like,
yeah.
what
I'm trying not to give
no, but you're
everything
fine.
away.
No, you're good.
The
That
the
that's on
the
me.
really for me, I really enjoyed the first part because it went back
Yeah.
before the very first issue, and so you put those comfy clothes back on
Oh, yeah.
as you're reading that, and then you're like, "Oh, yeah, all of this stuff," and then the 3rd volume starts,
And
and
then
it's like, "Okay."
well, yeah, and it puts you at that time. I mean, that first, well, not original, but the first series, like, we had no idea
No,
that
no,
this is
it
where
was
we were going.
yeah, it was comparing where these characters are right now with the first 5 or 6 pages of that first issue,
Yep.
there's no way you could go from one to the other. I mean,
Yep.
it's just yeah, it's been such a fun ride.
Yep.
Always in the back of my head, though I'm sad because I know that this is the once in future. This is
Yeah,
the
exactly.
winding down of. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
really? We've waited so long, and then that's going to
Yep.
be it. Yeah, but good fun book. One of the for me, Wind has been one of the high points I think of Boom Studios and my
Yeah,
reading of Boom books.
I agree. And like I said, I reading that first miniseries, I would not. I mean, I remember enjoying it quite a bit, but it wasn't until like you and I got into the second volume talking about it
Yeah,
on the show and everything, is when I went back and reread it again. And it's one of those things. It's why I like doing the show. It's why I like the folks that I follow on Twitter and other social media and talk with comics and stuff. It's comics are great, but sometimes reading it in a vacuum when you don't discuss it with other folks,
mhm.
it's sort of, you kind of you're only experiencing it based off of your experiences.
Right, right.
And so when you start talking to other people who are having different experiences and everything, reading that book, it makes you go, "Whoa, well, I didn't think about that." And you go
Right.
back and reread it, you're like, "Oh yeah, now I get it. I'm seeing exactly what you're saying."
They
So
did what? They said that's
yeah,
what it meant?
yeah,
Oh, well, yeah.
it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, as soon as I read that opening, portion of this, I'm like, "Oh, man, I need to put this down and go pull
Yeah.
everything out." No, I won't do that. I'll read it.
You've got time. You've got time.
Yeah. I'll seriously, I'll probably do that this weekend, just pull out the first 2 volumes of Wind. First of all, to make sure I have all of the issues. I think I
Yeah.
do. But yeah, to read it and just that way I'll be primed
Mhm.
for this third chapter.
Yep. All right. So my last, or I guess our last book of the evening is Images 30th and anniversary anthology number 5. It seems like a very long title, but that's what it is. So, um, if you've not been checking out, it's a 12 issue anthology series. If you have not been checking it out, each issue is roughly like 10 stories in it. The book is about 75, 80 pages. It's a good hefty book. So I feel like you're getting your money's worth. Some of the stories are ongoing. There's a Jeff Johns series or story that is about 8 pages in every issue, and it's going to run the whole 12 issue um, run. There is a Scotty Young series that'll go the whole 12 issues. Brendan Fletcher and Erica Henderson have got one that'll go the whole 12. And then there's another one that I can't remember, but no, there's probably another one or two. Anyway, but there's like 5 or 6 of them that are going to go the whole 12 issues, and then there's some that are just one shots, and then there's some that are 3 or 4 issues that they'll kind of cover their bases and everything like that. So it kind of gives you, um, and it's not a lot of like, here is this image book that is being published right now. It's a lot of just anthology stories that are just for this particular series. Now, some are, um, of books that Image has published in the past. Like there's in this particular issue, Jeff Lemire and Steve Wands do a Royal City story, and so that's their series from Image, and so they do like a 8 or 9 page story for that. Tim Seeley and Stefano Caselli do a hack slash. They're starting their 4 part story in this issue. For hack slash, and so which is hack slash versus Image, which is great. Um, it is probably the I'm a huge I always say I'm a huge fan of everything. But I'm a longtime fan of hack slash. Tim Seeley is one of those creators that when I really started to get sort of into um, image addictions when we did that podcast, his stuff was something that Mike and I talked about all the time. We had Tim Seeley on the show talking about stuff. So he's just always been one of those guys. He seems very, easily accessible. He was on a lot of podcasts, you know, uh, early in his run and stuff like that. And he's done a lot of really good work, but hack slash is always that thing that he goes, that property that he goes back to every so often. So this one in particular, he's saying them versus Image. And the last page of the story, Super Patriot shows up. If you're a longtime Image Youngblood Savage Dragon fan, you know who Super Patriot is, and that is the most off the wall character to have show up. So I'm like, all right, I'm on board.
Mhm.
So, but then, like I said, not wanting to go through like every. I mean, like I said, I think there's 10 or 11 stories in this thing. But that one was a good highlight for me. The Royal City one was a good highlight because I enjoyed that series. Um, it was nice to see Joe Casey and Nathan Fox together. They've got a three-part story about Dutch, who's a young blood character. He's, they're the first part of that three-part story starts in this issue. That was pretty good. I don't get to see Nathan Fox's art all that often, so I hate to say I always forget how much I enjoy it, but it's not that it's even the same. It's like it's slightly different every time I see it. So this particular issue was good to check out. Um but yeah, it's just, I've enjoyed a large portion of each issue that we've gotten so far. I do enjoy checking out, the one shot, 8-page stories, because that's all you're going to see from those creators on that particular character, in this. It's not like you're going to get more. So I feel like they put a little something extra in there for you. So, anyway, but it's good. I've been, not to, age myself, but I was reading Image from the very beginning. Uh, and so seeing them get to their 30th anniversary is awesome. And I'm really glad that they've done this anthology series. I wish that this was something that they would do all the time, because I do feel that while we may not get some of these stories or some of these series back all that often or at all, to give, like Lemire and Wands, a spot to do, to kind of catch up or tell another story in that universe that they created. Um, I think that's a great opportunity and really good for the fans. So yeah, I wish it would last more than 12 issues. We'll see how I feel when we get to issue 12. But 5 issues in, I'm totally on board with everything still. I know next issue we're going to get a couple more stories, like one shot and stuff. Palmiotti and Connor will be doing a pro story in it, so I'm pretty excited to see to see what they do there. So, but good stuff. I enjoy it very much so.
Cool
I take it
beans.
you're not reading this because
No.
you don't like fun. Is that what it is?
Oh, wow.
No, I'm just
Okay. Good
kidding.
grief.
The
Okay.
thing is, I don't know a lot of people that are reading this. Like, I don't hear many people talking about it, or see people on Twitter or even other podcasts that are talking about it. So I'm like, is anybody really reading this?
I
Other than me?
the 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 anthology concept is just not something that necessarily catches my eye. It
Yeah,
it, I think that's the biggest thing. I just am not, um I have not trained myself to really enjoy anthology books.
I gotcha. Yeah. No, and that's the thing. There are not a lot of people that do. I think people like the concept of anthologies, but I don't think a lot of people, once they, and it's not necessarily seeing them executed. It's once they get into it, they like, I don't know. I don't know if this
Like
is really what I want. Because a lot of
yeah,
people want to
it's
read that 22-page story and it just be that. These
right,
characters,
yeah,
this
it's
direction. Yeah.
right, yeah.
So I'm for larger books like this. Now, doing 10 or 12 stories, that's a lot going on. It does, I don't say comic readers are, they're wanting to kind of read a book every 10 minutes or whatever. This is not one of those things. This, I didn't read this all in one sitting. It took me a couple shots to
Mm,
to
right,
finish
yeah.
it, but I enjoy that because it gives me a lot more to read. So, it's kind of the way I look at it. Anthologies are fun, but I usually want a pile of the series to read at once. Exactly. Yeah, and I totally get that. It's just like everybody waiting for the trade, man. I just
Well,
want
yeah,
it
it's
all.
just it's a matter of training,
Mhm.
for years and thousands of hours. It's a single comic. That's
Yep.
that's what I've put my time into, and so that's kind of what I have trained um, to want to do to like
Yep.
to all of that. It's not that anthologies are bad. It's just for me, it's just something that I'm not used to
Oh
reading.
yeah. Yeah, I totally get that.
I can sit down and read one book that length. So it's not the length,
Mhm.
so yeah, I think for me it's just that rapidly switching, it to me it feels like I had a stack and I'd grab a book and read 2 or 3 pages and put it down and grab the next one and read 2 or 3
Yeah.
pages and put it so
Yeah, and it definitely takes a different sort of way to write those stories,
mhm,
because you're definitely trying to hook someone in a lot shorter period of time.
right.
And if you can't do that, especially if you're trying to tell a story over a couple issues, yeah, you're going to lose them quickly. So,
And you need to do that every single issue.
hmm
It's gotta have that start, peak, finish to keep it interesting every story,
yep,
every issue. So,
that's why you
yeah,
have Super Patriot show up at the end
that there
every
you
time.
go. "What the heck is he doing?"
I
"Well,
was
read the
like,
next issue."
that's exactly what I did. I went, okay, all right,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
sure, well, good to go, man. All right, well, that'll do it for our reviews. Anything else before we get out for the evening?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Nice round 2 hours here on the show. Thanks everybody who showed up in the chat and participated. Those of you who were just kind of hanging out listening, we do appreciate you coming by. Be sure to at least say hello when when you drop in. We appreciate everybody for listening. Those of you who watch us on YouTube after the fact, thank you very much. And all of you who are listening to us on the podcast, the audio portion later in the week, thank you very much for checking us out there. So you can come by the website, comicaddiction.net. That's where you'll see show notes and all that other cool stuff, a lot of the cover art. If you don't get to check it out here on the YouTube, we'll put them there. You can come by our forums at justanotherfanboy.freeforums.net and join all the conversations over there, not just with our show, but all of the things that Steven and the fine folks. I mean, y'all have got a ton of folks that are posting over there. I wish I was posting over there. New laptop, new oh god. I just remembered all the trouble I had with the password the last time. Am I going to have that with the new
Uh,
laptop? Oh
uh-oh,
dear God, I
uh-oh.
hope not. Hope not. Nope. New laptop, new life. You can, if you want to email the show about something that we've talked about here on the show, books that you like to suggest, topics you like us to cover, something to that effect, you can email us at our new email address, which is comicaddictionpodcast@gmail.com. It seems like we would have had that email the whole time, but
Eh, you know.
we'll just change it up. So you can do that and email us. That'd be great. You can follow us on Twitter. The show is at Comic Addiction. Ed is at Teal Productions. I am at Chris Parton. All of that is in the show notes. You can come by our Facebook page for all things Boom Studios, fans of Boom Studios. Ed is still holding the fort down over there. I made some attempts to get people to have some conversations, and I felt like I hit a brick wall. And I was like, okay, well, never mind.
Yeah, I don't believe the people there converse much.
I don't think so either, but that's fine. So you can come by and check out all the links and stuff about Boom Studio stuff. Uh, and Ed, tell everybody about all the other stuff, the podcasts and things that you're doing as well,
Oh,
outside of this show.
okay. I have
Don't
the
be depressed about it.
I have
Jeez.
the Superman Super Show with Stephen Orr talking about Golden Age, Superman from the beginning, Action Comics, and we just finished. And what is coming out now are the individual stories in Superman 2, the second issue of his book. And so what we're doing is chronologically one story per episode. So I mean, like Superman book, it had like 4 or 5 stories. Well, that's 4 or 5 episodes. So that way they're relatively short. Personally, I also am single voice host for Lords of Order, which is a Dr. Fate podcast, The Ronin Rabbit, which is an Usagi Yojimbo podcast. I have a co-host with my wife for the Mighty Thorcast. That's Marvel's Thor. We talk about there. Let's see. I have a personal thing that I do called Newsprint Commando, where I just talk about whatever. And so far, it's been early '80s black and white indie books. I've talked about the books from Capital Comics, which were Nexus, Badger, and Whisper, the beginnings of all those. I finished up recently a series on Justice Machine from Noble Comics, which is the first 5 issues of that series. And let's see, is that all I've talked about? Yeah, I think so. My next set of books I'm going to talk about for that show are The Adventurers from Aircel, I believe is who put that out,
Oh, okay.
black and white. The ads for it back in the day always described it as being the X-Men of fantasy. So it's a black and white, basically D&D kind of book.
Yeah.
And then seems like there's something I'm missing. Maybe not. My wife and I also do a show where we talk about dance competition shows, dance fever, dance competition shows being like Dancing with the Stars, and So You Think You Can Dance and whatnot. Likes to go commando. Ha ha ha. No, it's just here. I don't have any shirt on here. I have pants on. I said that.
It's already been established.
Yes, and I always wear underwear with my pants.
Follow the
I hate
continuity.
chafing.
The
I hate that.
chafing.
Chafing. Yeah, he played piano for David Letterman,
Dude,
Paul Schaefer. Yeah.
Schaefer, yeah.
Yes, the Sue covers are something else. They're a different kind of stuff from a lot of the other books coming out at that time. So those are the different projects. The Newsprint Commando. Ultimately, what I'll end up doing is do something for 4, 5, 6 issues, and then moving on. Like I think I have planned for the beginning of next year, however many episodes it lasts. I'm going to talk about a bunch of the comic books that were put out emulating the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh boy.
And if you go through online and look at the list, there are some funky titles, koalas and hamsters and pachyderms and just all.
Radioactive black belt hamsters. Is that what it
Yes,
was? Yeah.
kung fu
The o
koala
It's the only
hamsters.
one I can remember. I didn't know that any of the other ones.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's one about slugs, something
Oh
slugs.
god, really?
Um, you can even extend it to say that the biker mice from Mars were kind
Mhm.
of a kickoff of that.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I think I've found like 10 to 12
Wow.
books that were similar to that.
Yeah.
I believe I actually have the first copies now of just about all of those. So
Sweet.
that's what I'm going to start off next year doing, and then after that, I think I might go into the Malibu uh,
Mhm.
New Humans or Ex Mutants. I
Yeah.
think New Humans came first, but yeah, it's just a thing for me to just talk about these books that I've always wanted to hear somebody podcast about, and so I'm
Right,
like,
yeah.
well, nobody else is doing it, so I'll talk about them.
Fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, there's one, Preteen Dirty Jean Kung Fu Kangaroos. Yeah, that's one.
Oh, what the frick? I've never heard of that before in my
Oh,
life.
really? You've never? Oh, yeah.
No.
You need to look up, just Google like parodies like
Right,
Teenage
yeah.
Mutant Ninja Turtles and just see the list of
Okay.
names that people.
I'll do that.
Yeah, it's something else. And they were a lot of them were not necessarily meant to be funny. They
Mhm.
were trying to just grab that audience that
Oh, yeah.
Teenage Mutant. Now, some of them are funny. That you can read the name of the group and you're like, oh, come on, that's terrible.
Yep.
Yes,
You
Ron
know,
Lim.
yeah, when you said the Malibu stuff, X Mutants was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, X Mutants, New Humans.
I picked up a little bit of that way back in the day, but
Yep.
that has always been that's one of those series I've always wanted to kinda go back and check out again. I mean, I never.
Dinosaurs for Hire. That's
Yep.
another one that I'd
Mhm.
like to talk about. I don't know when or if I will, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm always thinking, and those things might change. I mean, I actually have the books for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle knockoff, so I'll more than likely do that one. As
Yeah.
far as the anything beyond that, I haven't tried to acquire any books. I'm not sure what I have already.
Yeah.
So,
I'm glad you said Whisper. That was a book I remember reading
oh
way
yes,
back when.
the Whisper and Badger and Nexus. Those
Yep.
those were fun to read through.
Yep. That was some of my early reading
Yep. Capital
back in the
Comics.
day.
And
Yep.
that was basically that was the topic. I wanted to talk about all the books that Capital Comics put out.
Yeah. There's a Dinosaurs for Hire video game according to Hyper.
Yes. I
Cool.
remember seeing that.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of here. So, did all the rundown. So, again, thank everybody for joining us tonight and listening to us on the podcast after the fact. Uh, you know, just Ed and I just yammering on about comics. That's what we
Yep.
do. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us here in the chat. Ed, as always, thank you, sir, for joining me on one more evening of
Yes,
comic talk.
sir.
So
Absolutely.
we will catch all of you next week. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Forgot how to end the show. I'll just keep talking. It's just one of those things. We'll just keep going. So but I'm sitting my phone is sitting here in front of me, and 5 minutes ago my boss messaged me. I don't know what he
What?
said. We got the deadline tomorrow. We got 3 projects going out. They're all the same project, but
That's
they're
after
just
11 o'clock, yo.
well, it's he probably this is him finally getting a chance to review everything. I probably have a full day's worth of work. He wanted to get it done by noon tomorrow, but it's not going to happen. So, all right, everybody in the chat, thanks for joining again, and I am going to sign us off. So, good
Bye,
night.
guys.